We're arresting you.
I was handcuffed by the police who suddenly appeared during my husband's funeral.
It's not Mom.
Despite my 4-year-old daughter crying out, none of the adults believed her. Helpless, I was taken away in a patrol car. This must be some mistake. Despite my fervent denial, the police claimed there were eyewitnesses. However, later, with just one mysterious statement from my daughter who possesses an unusual power, an unexpected truth emerged. And one surprising truth after another came to light. I am Rachel, 32 years old. I've been with my husband, William, who is the same age as me, since high school, and we were each other's first love. We got married 6 years ago and lived with our 4-year-old daughter, Emily. Emily has a slightly unusual power and occasionally, she can understand what others are thinking when she touches them. However, this power is a secret only our family knows. If you see or feel anything strange, just tell Mom and Dad.
Why?
I think it's a wonderful power, but other people might not like it. My daughter asked me why many times, so I explained it to her until she understood and said she did.
You are a good girl. You listen to Mom's instructions. I love you.
My daughter seemed happier to be praised by her father, but she never said it until we got home. In addition to my smart daughter, I had a close sister. She is 5 years younger than me, Rebecca. While my sister had short hair, I had long hair, but we looked alike in height and facial features. Our taste in food was also the same, and we had the same dislikes. She works in a confectionery business, so she often visited us with her specialty macarons as gifts. This happy atmosphere, where laughter never ceased, was something I believed would last forever. But one day, my husband's behavior suddenly became strange. As soon as he came home, he took off his suit in a furtive manner, sprayed deodorant, and immediately took a bath. Normally, when he came home, he would leave what he was wearing on the sofa, then follow me around as I did housework and childcare, talking about various things, but I somehow felt like he was avoiding my gaze. Moreover, from the shirt my husband casually threw into the laundry basket, there was a faint scent of sweet perfume. When I opened the dresser, I could still smell the same fragrance faintly on his suit. Maybe William cleaned up his suit himself because he didn't want me to notice? But my husband was originally a sincere person, so I couldn't imagine him betraying me. Perhaps he had some circumstances, I thought, so I didn't ask him about it. However, from that day on, there were more days when William, who smelled the same, came home, and I became increasingly worried. On days off, my husband, who used to enjoy conversations with me and our daughter, gradually shut himself in his room. When I opened the door quietly to peek, he was always deep in thought with his hand on his forehead. My husband, who was of average build, gradually became slim, and the wedding ring on his left ring finger disappeared. Why? He always wore it even when he slept. I was so concerned about this that, after putting my daughter to bed, I knocked on the door of my husband's room. Are you, by any chance, cheating?
Ha! Of course not. Don't say something ridiculous like that.
William denied it, but I couldn't overlook the fact that his face was clearly tense. You've been holed up in your room a lot lately. If you've found someone else you like, I want you to tell me honestly.
I've just been busy with work. A troublesome newbie came in, and I have to take care of them.
His eyes, as he spoke, seemed to be wandering, and his complexion seemed to be getting worse. Then, as if to say not to ask any more questions, My husband immediately turned his back on me and started typing on his computer. I thought that even if I asked about the ring, he would just evade the question for now, so I kept my mouth shut. After that, the situation where my husband seemed to be keeping his distance from me continued, and one day, 2 weeks later, something happened. On a day off when William was at home, he looked at his smartphone screen and said,
"I'm meeting a friend."
and he left in a hurry. Maybe he went to meet his affair partner. I felt a pang of sadness, but without the courage to confirm it, I spent time with my daughter. Then, about an hour after my husband left, I received a call from my sister, Rebecca. "Rachel, something terrible happened. William collapsed." "Oh no, he seems to be not breathing." My sister happened to pass by the park and found him lying there, limp. It was about a 30-minute walk from our house. "Rebecca, what do you mean he's not breathing?" Even though I asked repeatedly, there was no answer, and I could hear the sound of an ambulance siren. My sister had already called for an ambulance, but even though I kept asking hello repeatedly, there was no answer. When I strained my ears, I could hear Rebecca talking to the paramedics. Unable to sit still, I held Emily and hurried to the park with my sister still on the line. Then, after a while, my sister said, "Rachel, I'm sorry." So I told her I had left the house. "It's too late to come now. They're taking William to the hospital he always goes to. I'll be in the ambulance too, so I'll hang up for now." After hearing Rebecca's reply, I returned home with Emily, and I rushed to the hospital, about an hour's drive from home. It was close to my husband's workplace, so when his allergic constitution worsened, he would go for a checkup after work. Waiting for me at the hospital was my husband, who looked completely different. "William, open your eyes. It's me." Even though I shook him and called his name, William, at the young age of 32, had passed away. The doctor said,
He had already stopped breathing when he was brought in. We did everything we could, but unfortunately.
And I felt like my vision was distorting. The cause was an acute allergic attack. Originally, my husband had a severe allergy to buckwheat, and traces of it were found in his body, surprising me. We hadn't had buckwheat at home, and he shouldn't have eaten it himself. Who was the friend he was supposed to meet? Even when I looked at my husband's phone, I couldn't find any such conversation, and my head was only filled with confusion. Why? This is unbelievable. From that day on, I couldn't eat, and I just went through the motions of doing what was in front of me. My daughter was taken care of by my mother at her house, so with my sister's help, I somehow managed to get through the day of the funeral. It felt like I was constantly having a nightmare. Then suddenly, a male voice spoke.
"We're arresting you."
Eh? What do you mean?
You're the one who killed your husband, right?
I shook my head in denial, but it was said that someone witnessed me running away after my husband collapsed. This must be some mistake. I could never harm my beloved husband. My voice hoarse from shock, my hands trembling with fear, and the police handcuffed me mercilessly.
It's not Mom. Mom didn't give Dad any sweets to eat.
My daughter cried out with big tears, but the police didn't believe her. Perhaps my sister, hearing my daughter's words, thought I was the culprit. She turned pale and started trembling suddenly. In whispers, words condemning me like what a woman and scary person flew around. While receiving cold stares, I was firmly grabbed by the police on both sides.
Someone help Mom. Mommy.
My daughter's voice calling me, with increasing distance. Helpless, I was put into a patrol car and taken to the police station. During the interrogation, I continued to plead my innocence, even as my strength dwindled. 2 days later, I was finally released due to insufficient evidence. Why did this happen? Exhausted, when I looked at my phone, there was a message from my mother saying she was taking care of Emily. I immediately headed to my parents' house to pick up my daughter, and not only my parents but also my sister were waiting for me. I'm sorry for causing you trouble, everyone. Thank you for taking care of Emily. Rebecca nodded slightly with a cloudy expression. I believe in you, Rachel. But if there's anything wrong, I want you to talk about it and feel relieved. My sister, who found William and called me, peered at my face with a worried expression. Her eyes somehow seemed to be suspicious of me. And according to my mother, even relatives were convinced that I was the culprit. No. Mommy didn't do it. I'm sure of it. While my daughter believed in me, my parents asked, "Are you really not the one? Doesn't anyone besides Emily believe me?" Even though it was my own family, it felt like they were all looking at me with suspicion. Although my parents tried to stop me, I couldn't bear it and returned home with my daughter. Upon arrival and entering, the sorrow of losing my husband welled up all at once, and I couldn't help but cry out and scream. All the while, Emily had been holding me as if to comfort me. After crying for a while, I suddenly let out a big sigh and, as I tried to start tidying up, my daughter tightly grasped my hand.
Mom, can I tell you a secret?
What, honey? And then, she told me who was with William on the day he passed away. I believed in my daughter's mysterious power, but I never thought that person could be the culprit. To clear that person's name, we need to find the real culprit. I wiped away my tears and resolved to confront the person who sent my husband to the afterlife with my own hands. Searching for any clues, I found a note in his work bag. It said, "William, I love you. Please accept my feelings." Still, while suspecting that my husband might have been cheating, I opened his phone to check if there was any correspondence with that person. However, there was not a single trace of such exchanges. Feeling stuck, I eventually contacted my sister. "Rebecca, can I come to the apartment to sort through William's belongings?" "Okay." Wanting to enlist my sister's help, I arranged to meet her in this way. 2 days later, I left my daughter with my mother and visited Rebecca's apartment, where she had a day off from work. When I rang the doorbell, she immediately welcomed me into her room. "Big sis, are you okay after everything? You can tell me anything. Take it easy today." After thanking my sister, I handed her the watch that William cherished the most. "Isn't this William's favorite watch?" "Rebecca, did you know about it?" "Of course. William mentioned it to me. I'll take good care of it." Surprised but grateful, Rebecca accepted the watch graciously. As a gesture of thanks for taking care of my daughter, I brought her favorite wine and suggested we talk while drinking. Well, it turns out that William might have been cheating. "Oh, really?" I expected more surprise from her, so her reaction seemed unexpected to me. "Rachel, why do you think that?" He would come back home wearing perfume, and sometimes he'd lock himself in his room. "I see. Was there anything else? I continued to confide in my sister about my lingering distrust of my husband. While nodding along with a glass of wine in hand, my sister also mentioned that it seemed like William had met with a woman on the day he passed away. She went on to explain the circumstances of finding my husband and offered to assist in catching the real culprit. Gradually, my sister seemed to be getting tipsy and ended up dozing off on the sofa. "Rebecca, you'll catch a cold if you sleep here." Despite shaking her gently, my sister didn't wake up, already in deep sleep. I just called out to her and went to pick up my daughter from my parents' house. Upon arrival, I asked Emily again in front of my parents about the characteristics of the culprit and the situation at the time, as she had told me before. I was increasingly convinced of my daughter's mysterious power. "Do you remember what snacks Daddy had that day?"
He likes the round ones. He said they were homemade.
Not just me, but my parents also held their breath, unable to speak immediately. However, we managed to identify the culprit. While surprised, my parents said, "We can't just leave it like this. We should report it to the police right away. I'd rather have them apologize from here first rather than handing them over to the police immediately. Rebecca is helping with catching the real culprit, so it'll be fine." I informed my parents of my plan and made preparations steadily. 2 days later, I watched near the apartment where the person who erased William from this world lived, and as expected, she came out to dispose of non-combustible garbage. Holding my breath to avoid being found, I listened, and sure enough, she received an email on her phone. As she looked at the screen, her expression changed abruptly, and she started looking around. The notifications kept coming. Then, with a loud scream, she dropped her phone. "If you drop it like that, it'll break." I approached her gently, picking up the phone and speaking. "Huh? Rachel? Oh, it seems like a message from William from the afterlife came in. Surprising that even ghosts can send emails, isn't it?" Displayed on the screen were messages like, "How dare you kill me, or you will be caught for sure." As my sister's hands trembled, I swiftly took the non-combustible garbage bag from her and emptied it. Inside was a wig with long chestnut-colored hair, just like mine. "I knew it. I know it was you who killed William." My sister hastily snatched the wig from me and opened the apartment door, so I followed her and entered the room. The scent of my husband's shirts and suits still lingered faintly in Rebecca's room. In fact, I had noticed this smell when I came here 3 days ago. I had also confirmed the scent of the perfume bottle on the dresser while my sister was asleep. When I showed my sister the screen of my husband's phone, she suddenly became angry. "You sent that email just now, didn't you? Stop scaring me." "Indeed, it was all part of my plan." "I don't want to hear it from you. You kept hugging my husband and sending him messages to break up with me." "Huh? Where's the evidence for that?" Facing my sister's bold attitude, I showed her the photos I took when I came to this apartment 3 days ago. It was the screen of my sister's phone, showing the persistent messages she sent to William. My sister had developed feelings for my husband and was trying to make him hers. Frustrated with her behavior, William had repeatedly tried to persuade her to stop. However, my sister's actions only escalated. Gradually, "If you don't break up with Rachel, I'll send Emily and her to the afterlife," she began threatening. I deleted all the emails from William's phone. I messed up. Since all the history was erased from my husband's phone, I couldn't find anything. However, because my sister's phone screen remained intact, I was able to understand everything that had happened. Wait a minute, how did you realize that I was sending messages to William? Oh, I see. It's a leading question. You're using such cheap tactics. As she cursed me, I took out a piece of memo paper from my bag and unfolded it. This is your handwriting. It was in William's work bag. Since it was crumpled, my husband must have forgotten about it. As I took out the memo I brought, my sister's eyes flickered for a moment. You suspected me just because of that? No. I know someone close to me who has a mysterious ability. That person said that after you called out William and made him eat the round snack, he collapsed. Huh? Moreover, it was said that you left William suffering and waited until his last breath. She probably didn't expect to be exposed to this extent. My sister suddenly turned pale and began trembling uncontrollably. You made the macarons that William liked, right? You added buckwheat flour to them. After my sister fell asleep, when I took the blanket from the closet, I found a wig with the same hair color as mine and buckwheat flour. To frame me, she deliberately wore a chestnut-colored wig and killed my husband. Then, after William collapsed, she hid it in the back of the bag, returned to her usual self, and pretended to find my husband. Although this story was told to me by my daughter, who has a mysterious power, I didn't reveal who gave me the information to Rebecca. Damn it. If you had been caught, everything would have gone smoothly. Hearing my sister's sharp words, I felt a chill run down my spine. But I couldn't falter now. For the sake of my late husband, I rallied myself. I clenched my lips in frustration as I passed by her, took out my husband's ring from the dresser drawer, and said, I can't believe you even took his wedding ring. If the ring disappeared, you'd think you lost to his mistress and break up, right? You and William are both so stubborn, it's annoying. What did you say? How about that? I made sure you two could never go back. Serves you right. She finally seemed defiant, crossing her arms and wearing a satisfied smile. My husband met with her that day to get the ring back and make her promise not to bother us anymore. The last message left on her phone confirmed this. Kind-hearted William, fearing my pain, surely tried to resolve it quietly. That's why he suffered so much, losing weight from worrying. Now, what are we going to do next? Turn ourselves in? Or should I call the police on you? Well, in that case, let's do this. My sister quickly went to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and pressed it against her own throat. If you're going to expose my sins, I'll disappear from this world. William, I'm coming now, so wait for me. Looking up at the sky, Rebecca made gestures like a tragic heroine. But her hands trembled, and there was no movement. I seized the opportunity to snatch the knife from my sister and restrained her. Let go. I won't let you do as you please. The weight of taking someone's life will never disappear. Rebecca struggled, but just as I was determined not to let her escape, our father walked in. With tears in his eyes, he muttered,
How pitiful.
And grabbed hold of my sister to prevent her from running away. Dad, why? Father explained that he was so worried about me that he had followed us. After entering Rebecca's apartment for emergencies, I had left the door unlocked, which turned out to be fortunate. I'm sorry. I promise I'll never do it again, so please forgive me. That's not something that can be brushed aside with such light words. Reflect deeply from the bottom of your heart. I asked my father to take care of my sister, and as I began to call the police immediately, Rebecca panicked and shouted loudly. "Stop it, sis. Don't call the police. Please, I'm begging you. Your words don't resonate with me at all. I'm sorry. I'll live with the intention of atoning for this sin, so please forgive me." "Fine. I understand." After saying that, I pressed the call button and reported to the police, who arrived in 5 minutes. It turned out that the police had also suspected Rebecca, the first person at the scene. This is the email exchange between my husband and Rebecca. And here's the wig. The perfume is on the dresser, and the buckwheat flour is in the closet. After telling the police this, I looked at my sister coldly. "Rebecca, atone for your sins while you're alive." With a tone of voice I had never heard before, my sister flinched for a moment and was then taken away in a police car. Afterwards, based on the evidence seized from my sister's room and her confession, Rebecca was burdened with a heavy sin. Though it was like living a nightmare every day, clearing my husband's regret was the only solace. I'm nothing but grateful to my daughter who provided clues to find the real culprit. Thanks to your power, thank you.
Mom, from now on, I'll protect you. Don't worry.
Tears welled up uncontrollably at this. With her resemblance to her father and her kindness and intelligence, this child must be strong and resilient. For her sake, I decided to live strong and resilient. William, I'll pour my love into raising her for you. Looking up at the sky, I made a vow to my late husband and took a new step forward. How was this story? Please subscribe to the channel. Well then, see you in the next video.